Hi, I'm Frank Lavario, and I'm the founder of the Lavario programs. In these videos here, I would like to share with you some of the tips against addictions. I mean, overcoming an addiction, a therapy against addictions, always contains several elements. It's extremely important to find out the root causes for an addiction. You need some good tips on what to do in moments of cravings and urges. And in some other videos, I shared some great experience, some great tips on that. But another thing that you need to learn, which is crucial in overcoming an addiction, is identifying the triggers, finding out what triggers your cravings, what triggers your daily or whatever urge for porn, for gambling, for alcohol, for food, or whatever your drug is. And I put together some, next to me, I have a laptop here with some of the ideas and advice from the program. And I put it together and I'd like to read out to you because I think that can be extremely helpful. So the headline is find your triggers for craving. And craving is what you feel when you are again under the impression, I need my drug, whatever it is, I need my drug right now. When you turn uneasy, when you turn extremely nervous, and that's what we learn. That's what we mean by craving. Now, that is not only a psychological phenomenon, but it's also a biological thing because it has to do with the neurotransmitters in your brain. Now, which are the triggers of craving? When you find this out, you can do the following two steps afterwards. First, deal with the triggers differently. And second, avoid these triggers altogether or reduce their frequency in your life. But as long as you don't know the triggers, you're blind. You don't know what it is that makes you always get back to your drugs. You understand why it's why it's incredibly important that you find out these triggers. So there are 9 different trigger groups, and I will take you through them, and then each time think about whether that could be relevant in your life. And for most people, it's just 1 or 2, sometimes 3 of these triggers that are relevant. But I take you through all of them and find out which is relevant for you. So the first one is loneliness. Craving can happen particularly often when you feel lonely. This is how most of you feel. Even when you live in a relationship, you live a double life. When you are in secret, you're going to porn sites, you are gambling, you are drinking. And therefore, in reality, even if you're in a relationship, you live lonely next to your partner. In moments of loneliness, you feel the emptiness in you stronger than ever. And that hurts. And you then try to kill the pain as you have always done. In your brain, there's kind of a nerve highway that leads to from loneliness to craving and then getting your drug. So that's a very short version. In the Lavario programs, there are many pages and explanations on that. But loneliness, think about it, could be one of your typical triggers. The next one is unstructured time. Many people feel much better when they have a well-structured week and a good plan for what to do at what time during the day. In this case, not having such plans can be another trigger. This especially includes students, homemakers, unemployed, part-time workers, night or shift workers, and often leads a life in which there is no clear structure to the days. They constantly have the freedom to choose what to do next. As you have a strong addiction memory, addictive behavior will then constantly be taken into consideration as an alternative, what to do now. If you also feel lonely in these moments, you have already 2 factors at the same time. Does craving happen more frequently on days when you are not very busy compared to those when you are stressed? You might think that it is obvious to have less craving when you have a lot to do, but this is wrong concerning many people. I will come back to that in a moment. So observe yourself. I will talk about it at the end of this video, I think. So fights and offenses, that's another typical trigger. Adults often cannot cope with tensions between them and others. Since your childhood or teenage years, you might have learned to avoid conflicts, to retreat and, for example, to masturbate or to drink, to eat, as a strategy against these tensions, to release these tensions. Out of all triggers, this is the one that take most time to cure, because there will always be fights and offenses in your life. They are not so easy to avoid, especially because your definition of offense is probably much stricter than those of other people, with those of people with more self-confidence. Instead of expressing your feelings, for example, by saying, you hurt me when you say something like that, you direct the pain inside, you swallow it, like throughout all the years before. And then it causes a reaction of compensation, either immediately or hours later. Yeah, and that is then the craving. Now I need some relaxation. Now I need the bottle. Now I need the porn site. Now I need to gamble. So fights and offenses, that's a typical trigger for many people as well. Think about whether that's relevant for you. Another one is, good one, fear of conflicts. Fears of unavoidable conflicts relate to the previous trigger. A tension builds up inside you hours, days, or weeks before a situation that you're afraid of. And this tension leads to craving. You fear a presentation that you need to give, a job interview, a difficult discussion with your partner, the first session of your whatever training course or seminar, with all those strangers, Christmas with your parents, and so on. So these fear of conflicts, they can create a lot of tension, and then a lot of craving. Sorry. Another one is stress, as you might have anticipated. Most of the triggers mentioned before can cause stress. What I mean here is stress like overstrain, stress, overload of work. You spend a lot of time at work, and perhaps you are even single. Maybe you have a tough job and then you have stress at home. Perhaps you are a single, overstrained mother, and so on. So quick sex, for example, or drinking or gambling might be the opportunity for you to give you a well-deserved quick break, quick reward for all the hard day, unless you find a different compensation, such as social contacts, sport, massage, a loving partner, interesting hobbies, and so on. Yeah. So it's this idea of, I need this little treat now. Think about it. Happiness is another typical trigger, and it might come as a kind of surprise to many of you that happiness is a trigger, but it can cause craving. And actually, people with low self-esteem, and many of drug addicts have very low self-esteem, those people have problems dealing with strong positive or negative emotions. You had a problem on your hard disk in your brain that said, I am not worth anything and I deserve misery. Now, this program worked very well for you during all these years. If something very positive happens, there are serious tensions inside you. And these tensions cause craving. You think, why am I so happy? Why does this happiness happen to me now? I don't deserve it. I'm a bad person. I do all these drugs. I watch all this porn. I shouldn't be happy. You try to punish yourself. Probably I will do a video on that one. It's extremely important. And then out of this tension of something good happening to you and you not deserving it, at least you think so, that can create tension, and this tension causes cravings. Yeah, and that is the most surprising trigger probably to most of you. And if you give into it, if you feel guilty and ashamed, and that fits to your ego again, therefore tension disappears. I'm not sure if I made myself, if I made that clear. So if you, for example, drink or go to a casino, online gambling, or you watch porn, then afterwards you can think, oh, I did that bullshit again, and now I confirm that I'm a bad person. And then the tension disappears. It's a crazy cycle and you need to get out of it. But I will come back to that in another video. And interestingly, the Alcoholics Anonymous, they say, if you feel bad, go to the self-help group. If you feel good, run to the self-help group. Yeah, and that's the idea. I hope you got it. Revenge is another one. Revenge is always a self-damaging or even self-destructive behavior. Usually you want to take revenge subconsciously at someone. Like, look, mom, or look, my ex-boyfriend, girlfriend. If you had not done this and that to me, or if you had not done this to me, if you did not exist, this would not have happened to me. Look at the misery I'm in. This is because of you. I would be in better shape if you hadn't done that to me. I wouldn't do this crap. In the complete Lavario package, we will deal extensively with this one. For the time being, let's only scratch the surface. Think about whether it could also apply that with your addiction, you want to take revenge at your parents, or, as I said before, your ex-partner or your boss, or at yourself. And I mentioned that a couple of minutes ago, at least I touched it. For mistakes that you have supposedly done in your past life. Yeah. Showing and proving to yourself how bad you really are. When you display your ugly, addictive behavior, you can subconsciously feel good again. Yeah? After you have proven how bad you are. In the beginning, this sounds absurd, but it is true for many addicts. Think about whether this could also be the case for you. Another typical one is place, time, people. Most of the other triggers so far were psychological. But this group of trigger is different. Here, certain places, times of the day, certain days during the week, or certain people cause craving in you. Let's take the example of porn and sex addiction. So obvious places might be streets close to the red light district, clubs, swimming pools for some people, saunas, etc. You are in such a place and immediately a program starts inside you. You might notice it immediately or hours later because maybe your subconscious mind first stores these stimuli, then makes them pop up again later when you forget about them and you do not understand the reason. The connection for the craving. These type of connections you will only understand when you follow and analyze diary for a couple of weeks. Certain times of the day can be critical for you. For many sex addicts, porn addicts, this can be the evening or night time, particularly because you feel lonely and empty then. Maybe because the partner is in bed and you can surf a bit on the web, instead of cuddling with her or him. The weekend can only be a critical time. Can also be a critical time, especially if you are single and do not really know what to do with your free time. So I elaborated a bit on unstructured time before and also on loneliness as triggers. Certain people can also trigger craving. These can be people exerting a direct erotic stimulus on you, but it can also be more complex. Certain people might cause frustrations, fears, or thoughts of revenge. And this in turn then triggers craving. Yeah, another one is a computer. Computers or laptops can be a means to pursue your addiction, and they can be a trigger on their own as well. For example, I use the computer to get satisfaction after another trigger has caused craving. Or I work on the computer or think about the computer And this then triggers a craving by itself, because I know I could surf on these certain pages now. So these 9 triggers are the most common ones. Obviously, there are other ones. There can be additional ones in your life, depending on your circumstances, which also make your life then miserable. Think about it. In order to find out which typical triggers of craving you have, please do the following exercise during the next few days at least. Make yourself a table. In the Lavario program, there is already the table. But take a sheet of paper and then write on the left all the triggers I just mentioned, the 9 trigger groups: loneliness, unstructured time, disputes, fear of conflict, stress, revenge, place, time, people, computer, or others. And then write next to it, what happened today? Out of these triggers, did something cause me stress? Did I feel lonely? Did I have unstructured time? Yes or no, and when? And then next to it, put the stress level. How stressed did I feel about this loneliness, or about the stress itself, or about the unstructured time? Give it points between 0 and 5. And then at the end of the week, please also create a weekly overview in which you put in the points per possible triggers. So you don't see the table now. As follows: you put the 9 triggers as before, and then you sum up the points that you had on Mondays, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and so on. And this gives you a total points per triggers per week. And then you see, for example, that loneliness during the week has been extremely important for you. That has given you a lot of stress. Or maybe it was a computer, or feelings of revenge to yourself, and so on. But it's just a very simple tool, but it gives you a first idea. And maybe you know already, after you saw these 16, 17 minutes now, maybe you immediately recognize which could be a typical trigger. But if not, make this kind of analysis. Do it for a week with a piece of paper at night. Write down everything that happened during the day, and it will probably give you 1, 2, or 3 triggers again that are relevant to you. So as a next step, I need to cut it a bit here. In the Lavario program, we have, I don't know how many exercises and pages on that, because then the next 2 steps would be now you need to think about what will you do differently. Yeah, you can plan for that. You can think ahead. What will I do next time that I will have that I will feel lonely, that I will feel stressed? The more you have prepared a strategy how to deal with it, the more in those situations, you can follow those ideas. You can follow that strategy and avoid it. And the other one is you can plan how to avoid altogether those triggers. When you feel stressed, think about why and how to solve that. Maybe you need to change something in your life. The same about loneliness and unstructured time. Plan ahead. If unstructured time is a typical trigger for you, then Sunday night, plan ahead for the week. And think about, on Tuesday and Thursday, I will have those hours where I don't know what to do. And maybe look for new hobbies, look for new activities. This was a very, very short, touched very, very briefly on the surface on that one. I think I should do another video on that. But I hope you got the idea. The key message is identify your triggers. Hopefully you have a better idea now how you can go about and analyze that. And hopefully I could give you some help in these 19 minutes. Too long now, I will stop. And hopefully join me again in one of the other videos, or check our website www.lavario.com, because there are many text articles and also the whole program. I mean, I strongly recommend you to do that, because that should really help you. Okay, thanks for your attention. Bye-bye.